Hey guys, it's Kevin again. This camera review for Switched at Birth, Season 3, Episode 13, Like a Snowball Down a Mountain. And last week's episode, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good episode and everything, but wow. This episode really got back to things, really made the show even more interesting. I really love the twists in this episode. There are a lot of twists in this episode that I'm really looking forward to. And, yeah, it's definitely going to be I'll say this, it's definitely going to be a very interesting next couple of episodes. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to the next episode. So let's just get to this episode. The first thing I'm going to talk about, of course, is Bay and Emmett and Tank and Matthew. So Bay goes right over to Tank in the beginning of the episode, and she goes in the door, and he is happy to see her and everything. And she basically tells him, you know, Emmett told her before, you have to break up with Tank if you want this relationship to work. So she goes over to Tank and she says, I think we should just be friends. And Tank doesn't really know what to say to her. He doesn't know how to react because he's kind of just upset by what she just said. I mean, think about it. If your girlfriend that you've been dating for a while just knocks on your door and be like, hey, I think we should be friends, I probably would have reacted the same way. I mean, it's very surprising that she did that. He didn't expect her to do that, and that was a pretty big thing right there. Right away, it was really interesting there. So yeah, that right away was pretty big. So yeah, he didn't know how to react to that, but she said that she had to break up with him, basically. Her reasoning was just that the timing was wrong or something like that. So basically, after this, what happens is that she then goes over to Emmet, and Emmet tells her that, that Matthew is really, threatening him. He is trying to turn Matthew in. However, if he does, Matthew is going to end up sending, some of the conversations and pictures to the FBI as well, and Emmet will get in trouble, and he's going to tell the whole school about it. So Emmett's really concerned about what's going to happen, but Bay says there has to be a way to get their revenge on him. There just has to be a way. In the meantime, of course, John and Kathryn, John still thinks that Bay, it had that, morning after pill, and he thinks it was Tank that did it and everything. And of course, Kathryn talks to Bay about it, and Bay tells Kathryn that her and Tank, broke up. And Kathryn, of course, doesn't really know the whole story, of course. So it's going to be really interesting when they find out that it was actually Emmet that did it. So John then goes over to Tank, but before that happened, Bay was talking to Emmet, and they came up with a very good strategy here. This was very interesting. Basically, Emmet and Bay were talking about how to get their remove the pictures from Matthew's phone. And basically, Matthew has this this messenger bag that he always wears around his neck, and the phone, now they're thinking that the phone and the computer and everything like that is in that messenger bag. So what they have to do is they have to go into the messenger bag, they have to go into his locker. Emmet knows the code to his locker, so they'll go into his locker, open up his locker, take the messenger bag, and then delete the pictures off his phone, delete the pictures and texts and shit like that off his phone. So that's what they plan to do. So, that was a very elaborate plan, but I thought it was actually a very good plan overall. I thought that was definitely a very good plan. So, pretty much what then happens is that, basically, after this, John actually confronts Tank about Bay and the whole, her taking that morning after pill, and Tank's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't know where that came from, but I have no idea what you're talking about. And I had nothing to do with it. And of course, John really doesn't know what to say to him or whatever. But it's going to be very interesting what happens when John finds out that it was actually Emmet. I think, as I said, that is going to be interesting. So Tank is really upset with Bay, obviously. More of that later. But basically, Bay and Emmet then break into his Matthew's locker. They look at the stuff on his phone. Emmet then deletes the text messages, but he sees that there's a file that says Mandy. And Emmet says to Bay, "Could you go over there for a second? I really don't want you to see what's on there." And in my opinion, I'm like, hello, you just had sex with this girl. There's nothing that she wouldn't have seen already. He then opens up the laptop, and there are literally dozens of pictures of Emmett everywhere. Like, he's like, why is this guy so obsessed with me? He thinks that Matthew's obsessed with him and everything, and they're like pictures from his yearbook, things that Emmett has took, just dozens of pictures of Emmett that he doesn't want any, that really is just like, why is this guy so obsessed with him? It's like really weird that he would just have all these pictures of him randomly. So Emmett then pulls up, so then they look in his laptop. And on his laptop, there's actually this letter that they click on. It says letter. And Bay's looking through it, and while Bay is scrolling through it, it says, even though I catfished you, those feelings I had for you were not real, they were real. I hoped you had them too. It turns out that Matthew's actually secretly gay, and he doesn't want to tell anyone, including Emmett, and doesn't want Emmett to know the truth about why he actually sent that to him, of course, and, Matthew actually did this to him because he was in love with him, which, that is huge right there. I thought that was a great twist. I'm like, that is a great twist right there, because, we thought it was just that Matthew was a jerk because he wanted his revenge on Emmett for the whole tire slashing thing, but it's more than that now, and that's really big. So, Bay and Emmett, they do not know what to do. Emmett's like, okay, this is not real. I'm pretty sure it's not real. But, Bay's like, it has to be because he sent that letter, so it has to be real. So Bay, to make sure that it's real, goes over to that, lesbian deaf girl we've seen before. I don't remember her name, but she's a lesbian and she's deaf. That's all I remember. And she's talking to her, and she basically saying how she knows that Matthew had these feelings for Emmett before, because when Matthew and her had a conversation, and he brought up Emmett, then, Matthew sort of talked to Emmett like he was in love with him. But then, when she brought up the conversation again, he completely ignored it. And she says how he's denying it right now, but you have to give him time. He will eventually... She's saying, I'm not saying what he did was right, but he did have feelings for him, and he only did this because he was in love with him. So, they really, of course, they don't know what to do, and, Bay goes up to Matthew before, and Matthew's denying everything, and that's why she confronted the girl, so she really didn't know what to do. So after this happens, Tank then approaches Bay, and he is furious at Bay. He's like, oh, wait, he's like, why would you trust Emmett? Emmett and you, why did you do this to me? Like, why did you do this? I mean, I know that you had feelings for me and everything, but why did you do this to me? And, she says that she's sorry and everything, and that she never meant to hurt him and everything. She didn't mean to put this stress on him. She really feels bad that she did this to him. You can clearly see that she feels really upset that she did this. So yeah, she's quite upset that she did this, of course. And Tank has all the right to be angry, really. He really does have all the right to be angry. Even though it seems like he doesn't need to be angry, he does have all the right to be angry, in my opinion. I understand, why he's, it makes perfect sense why he's upset. So yeah, that was, definitely really big. So yeah, then, John talks to Bay, and Bay actually does tell him the truth, that, her and, she told him the truth about her and Emmett and how they got back together and they had sex and everything. I was glad that Bay told him and not that he found out from someone else. I was happy that she told him. Bay told John about that, and John actually doesn't freak out about it, believe it or not. He's like, okay, it's fine, I know you made a mistake, just be more careful next time. I know, yes, you made a mistake, but you're human, everybody does that. And you know what, that was very good, because most parents would freak out if they found out their child had sex with someone who wasn't their boyfriend. Like, they would freak out about it, but John understands because Emmett's, one, he's a family friend, so he can understand that. Two, they've had feelings before. Three, it wasn't like she genuinely does love Emmett. She confessed to him, I don't love Tank, I love Emmett, and that's what she said to him, and that's really, really big. And I'm actually glad they're doing this, because I've always loved Bay and Emmett together, and I'm glad they're getting them back together now, so that's really great. So then she goes over to, so then at the very end of the episode, Emmett finally decides to confront Matthew. He doesn't know what to say to Matthew or whatever, and, basically, he asked Matthew, why'd you do it? Why did you do it? And he said, why didn't you just tell me that you were in love with me? And Matthew says, it was really hard for me, I couldn't do it, and before Emmett can talk to him, he says, do you want to talk about it now? And Matthew's like, oh, I gotta go. And that's how the episode ended, basically. So, I'm pretty much thinking here that it's, I don't know, we're gonna see what happens here. I think there's gonna be a way for Matthew to finally come out about it, and, Bae told Emmett to basically just forget the whole thing. That's what she said. She went up to Emmett and said, let's just forget about the whole thing, because if we do if we sue Matthew, if we try to press charges against him and try to turn him in, that's gonna put more stress on him, and it's not gonna be a good way for him to come out. She said, I want him to, she wants him to actually come out on his own, come out on his own and not hold it inside, and if he wants to hold it inside, fine, but not have to do it in front of, like, police officers. And I can understand that, because, I mean, a lot of gay people, some are very shy about coming out, there are people in my school who I know are gay, but then there are people who could be, and they're just, like, holding it in for right now. They're not actually saying what their sexual preference is, and that's perfectly fine if you're doing that. If you don't know what you are yet, that's fine. You are what you are, and I think that's really great that they're finally, I think that was a really great plot. I love the main plot main plot of the episode. I thought it was very strong. Let's get to Daphne's plot. Daphne in this episode is back at the clinic. She's now still working at the clinic. Her and Campbell are now together, which is really great. There's no Jorge, which I'm great about, which is good, because last year, of course, we had Campbell and Jorge, but there's no Jorge. Instead, Dr. J tells Daphne that he's hiring her to be his assistant because she's worked enough. She worked hard enough for it, and that's what she's doing. But the problem is, when she is his assistant, it's putting way too much pressure on her. Like, he's literally putting way too much pressure on her. Like, for example, she doesn't know where a brush goes or where certain things go. And pretty much, Campbell talks to Daphne and says, why would he hire someone like you to do this? Someone who's not experienced at all. Because Daphne really doesn't know what she's doing. And it's really, it's not good that she doesn't know what she's doing. So, Campbell basically, at the end, it's really sad because Campbell tells her, you know what, I understand that you have this job, but it's putting too much pressure on me. And the thing is, I want to work with you, but I can't. And, that makes that's realistic, because when boyfriends and girlfriends work together, it never works. It never works. You get distracted by you being in love. You get distracted by so many things. And if you are together and if you are boyfriend and girlfriend, you're in a job together, I recommend you don't do it, because you're going to end up like that. I'm glad that they didn't break up, because if they would have broken up, that would have been stupid. But I'm glad that he decided, I really care about you, but I can't do this anymore. And he said he's leaving, and he's still working at the clinic, but he's not working for her. So that was a pretty good plot. I thought that was definitely a well-done plot, and I really enjoyed about that plot. Let's go to Kathryn. Kathryn, of course, her book is coming out and everything, and she wants to stop it from coming out because there's a girl that, if you remember that girl, there was a girl that, is, sort of like sleeping around with all these different guys in the book, and it's actually based off a real girl in her life, and that girl is now going to sue Kathryn if Kathryn doesn't, stop the book from being printed. And Kathryn actually tries to confront the girl, and she tells Regina about it, and Regina actually understands why the girl's upset about it, and she tells Kathryn she has to stop it and everything. Where the hell is Renzo? Why isn't Renzo there to talk to her about this? I liked Renzo's character. Where the hell is he? Like, seriously, I liked Renzo's character, and I'm just like, where the fuck is he? I mean, I would have wanted to see Renzo, but we didn't. But Regina tells her she actually understands why this girl is possibly going to sue her, because it's kind of embarrassing for her. So Kathryn tries to talk to this girl and be reasonable, but the girl doesn't want to be reasonable. Obviously, she doesn't want to be reasonable, because it's based on a real girl. It's based on a real girl, and if you do this to the girl, it's going to humiliate her. So I can understand why the girl is upset about it, because it's going to humiliate her if she does this to her. So I'm glad that her and the girl decided, the girl basically doesn't want to talk to her. She doesn't want to do anything. She doesn't want to do anything about it. So Kathryn's trying to talk to the person that wants to publish the book, and she's saying, look, whatever we can do, let's try not to publish this book. And the girl's telling her, look, we have to publish the book. We have to do it. And basically, they don't know what to do. They don't know if they can print the book. They don't really know what to do at this point. yeah, it's a pretty big thing there. So they really don't know. She really doesn't know what to do, and it's pretty interesting. I'm interested in seeing what they're actually gonna do here. So yeah, overall, that plot was good. I thought it was not as good as last. I liked Kathryn's plot more in the first half of the season. This half, it's so intense that I don't really care so much about it. However, I actually do care about Regina's plot now, believe it or not, which I didn't care about in the first half of this season, but I really care about it now, because Regina, in the meantime, she's getting back on track with her relationship with Angela, which is good. I'm glad that they're together. I'm glad that they're back on track with their relationship. However, she meets up with Wes, and Wes has a gun, and she doesn't know where this gun came from and everything. Here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking Wes is actually the guy that is after her, and she doesn't even know it, because there's Regina doesn't think there's anything wrong about it. She's just asking, why he has a gun. She doesn't know why he has a gun and everything. And she's then, we don't really know what's going to happen with Regina and all. She's then, in a car, and she realizes someone's following her, and she then calls 911. And she's like, there's this guy that's following me in a car, and the girl on the call is like, okay, I'm gonna send a police squad, I'm gonna send a police car after them. But then when she turns around, the guy's gone. So what's going on there? She doesn't really know. So yeah, so that was a really intense scene. I thought that was definitely very well done, but really intense. And then after that, what happens is she goes over to Daphne, and Daphne and her are setting the table and everything. They then get this call. They get this call from an unknown number, and Regina answers the phone, and the call just says, she's like, hello, and it says, Regina Vasquez, and then they hang up the phone. So she is terrified by this. She acts like everything's okay. She's just like, wrong number, and Daphne's like, really, Mom? And she's like, Mom, who is it? And she's like, really, just wrong number. And then Regina turns away, and she's really upset. So then she goes over to Wes, asks him why he has a gun. He explains to her why he has a gun and everything, like, if he has local license on the gun. He says, yes, I have local license. But she doesn't really get the answers that she wants to. Now, here's what I'm thinking. I am thinking that Wes is the guy that's actually following her, and he's doing this, like, as revenge for her quitting her job, because he seems like he's the type of guy that does that. As we know, he's very racist, very against, Spanish people, very, very racist guy, as we know, from her mother. She said that, in the first half of the season. So I'm pretty much saying this guy's after her. I really think he's after her, and I don't really know what's gonna happen next. But overall, I love this episode. Fantastic episode. By far, I think it's the best episode of the season, in my opinion. Yeah, best episode of the season. Just, wow, best episode of the season. I absolutely loved it. Really, really intense episode. Absolutely loved it. Can't wait to see the next episode. What's going to happen with Emmett and Matthew? Do you think that Matthew will tell Emmett what's really going on? He pretty much has to, because Emmett needs to know why he did what he did, and if Matthew needs to tell him why he did what he did, and he's not telling him. As far as Bay goes, do you think that she made the right choice with Tank? I think it's not going to end up well with Tank. I think Tank is very hurt by this, but do you think that Tank actually is going to forgive her? Daphne, do you think that Campbell made the right choice? I think Campbell definitely did make the right choice. We'll have to see what happens there. Kathryn, I wonder if she's gonna have trouble with, I hope she's gonna be able to stop her book from being printed, because the girl's gonna sue her if she doesn't, so we're gonna see what happens there. And is Regina being followed by Wes? I'm pretty sure that she is. But that's it for my review. I hope you enjoyed it. As I said, love this episode. And I'll see you guys in my next video, which will be my review for, The Fosters. So I'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.